When the company's executives considered moving production to Vietnam instead of Italy, they had one thing in mind: cost savings. Initial research indicated production in Vietnam could cost as low as 2/3 the costs sustained in Italy. Developing economies offer cheap labor, low prices of electricity and raw materials, and government support for licenses and authorizations. After a deeper analysis, financial controlling came up with a more precise figure you can work with. If the price of production in Italy is $15,500, then they would expect that the cost of the same car in Vietnam would be approximately $11,000. For simplicity, we'll assume the same price for various volume levels. But please know that usually the actual cost per unit would also depend on the number of units produced in a plant. Okay. Once we can compare prices per unit, the next step would be to assess production volumes. The operations team suggests you should consider 3 main cases. Base case, in which the plant produces 20,000 cars per year. A best case, in which 22,000 cars are built per year. And a worst case scenario that involves building 18,000 cars per year. The planned volume largely depends on the demand the company expects for its cars over the next 10 years. Productivity is a variable your operations team used to describe their expectation regarding the plant's operability in each year. It is reasonable to expect a slower start and a ramp-up of production over the next few years. Then, once the plant becomes a little older, production slows down. Okay. So, to obtain the volumes of production per each scenario, we must multiply the respective base volume by the expected level of production in that year. Once we have done that, we can proceed updating the price of production per car in the 2 countries, Italy and Vietnam, with the expected long-term inflation in the 2 countries. By doing this, we'll consider the fact that prices are expected to change in a different way. Vietnam is a growing economy and has a higher expected long-term inflation than Italy. So, we'll multiply the prices provided by our financial controlling team by the annual inflation. Once we've done that, we can subtract the price of production in Italy and the price of production in Vietnam. And this will give us the savings per unit we would expect to generate moving the plant to Vietnam. This is the actual income that will be made, and when creating a capital budgeting model, we'll use this figure as the basis for our EBITDA. Savings per unit times expected annual volume for each case would give us the overall savings we would expect. And we'll look at this figure as EBITDA of the plant. It's different than the technical definition of EBITDA, but then if you think about it, it makes sense. EBITDA is a measure of operating income, and the overall savings generated by the new plant is the annual operating income we are interested in.